Hey everybody, welcome to Flowgetter. Hi Erica.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, today we're going to talk to you about healing. And we'll be talking about healing the mind, the body, the soul, and the collective. So that's all I know because Erica is our genius today on this topic. And Erica, what has been top of mind for you?
Okay, let's take the election, for example. We're post-election now. Part of me feels like what happened, the outcome, is a huge call to collectively heal some collective wounds that we've been carrying around for, lifetimes, really.
Yeah.
I believe that we do carry on or pass on wounds generation to generation. And I believe it's because we are all that is, right? It's like, I am my ancestors are me. And so it kind of makes sense that you would pass on wounds. And if they're not healed in a particular lifetime, then you're just going to keep passing them on. I mean, we pass on genetic traits. We pass on a whole lot of things. Why wouldn't we pass on things that are not tangible? Trauma, right? Thank you.
Yeah.
Right?
There's some study actually of I think it was the Ashkenazi Jews or something. There's some study, I can't remember what it was, but it's literally like you can pass on trauma. Literally. I don't remember the science around it, but there's science to sort of, not that you care that there's science.
No, it's good.
Because it's what you know, but it's really interesting.
It's important to highlight that because I think for a lot of people, the science is important. It's just as important.
That's true.
So it's great.
I mean, I didn't mean to imply that you didn't care. It's more like you have such knowing that it's not as meaningful necessarily as the knowing that's within you about that. So,
but I think it's helpful for listeners. So, and thank you for, and whenever, I think you should always share that stuff because I think it's super helpful. And also, I kind of like to know it too. So it's good.
I'm kind of a nerd. If I could remember the science, I'm like, there's science. Somebody go Google that.
It's so good. I love it. I think it's so important. We've been talking a lot about empowerment. And I think a lot of times we look to the outside world to tell us where we need to heal. And I think it is helpful. You know, sometimes it's hard to identify that on our own. But when we're in pain, we know that there's something that needs to be healed. Sometimes we do need that outside community to help us identify it and figure it out. I think, again, on a collective scale, and I'm not really sure, maybe we can touch on certain things in this podcast and maybe go deeper in a different podcast or go deep in this one on one particular aspect of healing, but it really has been top of mind. So I think this election is sort of a call for us to begin to heal collectively as a community, as well as individuals.
Yeah. And that they would parallel each other, because if we're healing each other collectively with hatred, judgment, fear, which is basically the foundation of why people have conflict, right? Which is, wired into biology, like, tribes were trying to steal your stuff back in the ancient times, the animal part of ourselves understands that, but so we're trying to elevate and grow and heal the external collective while we're trying to heal those things within ourselves. And so when you're thinking about healing lately, you said it's been coming up in your life. Has it been more physical healings or emotional healings?
I think emotional healings, which actually I will say, little things like, I know that when I start to feel physical pain, for me at least, I feel like it's because I haven't addressed some sort of emotional thing that led to that. I think the physical stuff is kind of the last stop.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
It's the, it's the wake-up call.
It's the wake-up call, exactly. And I do think, I think it's really, really important to address disease and illness in this podcast if we're talking about healing. Because to me, when you reach a point of diagnosis, or when you reach a point of even a cough or a cold, I know every time I get sick, every time I even start to get sick, I am so clear on how I got there. It's so obvious. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I've been running around like a crazy person. I said yes to a billion things, and now I'm trying to get it all done, and now I'm sick. Well, I've been living in stress. I've been, like you say, bathing in stress chemicals for days. Of course I'm going to get sick, And so if you think of that really at any level, if you've really been carrying around a lot of trauma for a long time, and, that it doesn't have to, but it absolutely can manifest into disease and illness at some point.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah. And some people, it manifests. I've noticed that, like, one person with, we'll say emotional trauma, baggage, stress, just basic stress even, they'll manifest it physically. Another person will manifest it externally with their relationships. So they'll have, verbal abuse, neglect, or indifference, or, just being treated poorly. And so they'll be surrounded by all of that, almost making them the victim of it. So their body's like actually really healthy. And the external, but really close, is like really toxic.
That is brilliant.
Yeah. And it's really interesting. And another person will have, let's say, total harmony on the outside, but then inside their body is just going left, right, and center with, not in a good way.
That is genius, because I've thought about that too. And I've observed, I know people, let's just say, in fact, in the same marriage, I know a couple where one of the people in the relationship was diagnosed with cancer. And that person in the relationship is sort of like the peacemaker, and the one who kind of holds things in and won't, doesn't want to, no conflict. And
for those of you listening, I'm pointing at myself.
So that person in that relationship is kind of the person who holds all the stuff in. And so, of course, the inside of the body is riddled with toxicity because they're not actually expressing or getting out the emotion. The other person in the relationship, however, is very verbal, very emotive, very just gets it out. And that's the one who has never been diagnosed with anything, literally. And these people are in their late 70s, right?
These people piss me off.
And here's where, and I'm like, it's interesting though, because you're 100% right. It's like the person who just gets it out. I mean, we kind of touch on various parts of this idea of just having your feelings, getting your emotions, whether it's movement, crying, expressing, journaling,
throwing axes.
Yeah. Like there's a good reason we're really proponents of having your feelings, expressing your feelings. It's not just having your feelings, it's expressing your feelings in a healthy way. Right. But then really at the bottom line is really getting to a point where you don't even have to experience those feelings anymore. But that's a side note.
That's where we're all trying to go with our consciousness and all that stuff. But I think what you're saying is we need to clean up a bit before we gonna go to that next level, because it's holding you back. Right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So you've got these two people. And the reason I said that pisses me off is because I'm the peacemaker type where I really don't like conflict and I want everyone to get along. I'm a 211 in numerology. I mean, come on. It's like I'm going out of my way to create harmony, and then I'm paying the price. And the people that are not trying to make life harmonious are sick. And I'm like, man, so I think, so I need to journal about that anger, obviously. But I think it brings up a really interesting point is, like, how do you see this dynamic? Because one person can kind of create a toxic environment externally, and the other person's putting the toxic environment in. So it's almost like neither choice is the right choice. It's like, how do we transcend both of those things?
Absolutely. What a great question. Love this question. And I think really it always goes back to awareness, consciousness, empowerment, all the things that you and I have talked about and stand for with the creation of Flowgetter. I will say, I think when I say wake up call, there's a reason it's called a wake up call, right? There's a reason it's called an awakening. We walk around, a lot of us, most of us, all of us, in various points in our lives, right? Just kind of in autopilot mode, unconscious, unaware, busy ourselves with stuff. And I do think a lot of times we do this because we don't want to look under the hood. We don't want to look at what's really going on, because that requires work and effort and requires us to face things that seem incredibly scary, which I understand. And so sometimes, like, again, going back to this election, I think for a lot of us, these things happen to push us into that awakening. It's like, okay,
I love it.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, COVID, I think, was a similar thing. We talked about our higher selves in the last podcast, which you defined so beautifully, sort of this, I'm not even going to try to define it because you said it so well, but kind of the all-knowingness part of ourself that is not only connected to source, but that is source. That part of us is helping us along and saying, okay, you're asking us to help you along. So here you go. Here is a situation that will help move you forward. Kind of like children, right? When they don't know how to heal themselves or help themselves, that's what mom and dad are there for. Or a caring, loving adult is there to help them along. I feel like that's very similar.
It's totally true. It's like if you eat food, you know that it has to exit. Okay? And it has to do its thing. And if the universe, it's like, it's one big creative force. So nothing can just stop. Like, oh, I had trauma. I'm just going to put that in this pocket and I never have to deal with it ever again. It doesn't work like that. Believe me, I have been trying to make it work like that. And it's like hanging onto a rock in a river and getting water in the face and getting like, it's not, you're up against a universe. And when I say universe, I mean capital YOU universe. It's the thing that's created all the trillions of galaxies. Just go with how it works. Don't fight it. Now, I say that out loud. Doing it is a whole other experience. So I want to get into like we take, there's so many good books. Gabor Mate has one called When the Body Says No, because the body's saying no for you. There's so many reasons that we park trauma. And he's got this great quote, and I probably have said this before: trauma isn't what happens to you, it's what happens in you. So a lot of people think they don't have trauma, but it's, you can have the most minor thing where you were left out of a little social moment with kids when you were 5. And it's not traumatic. But inside yourself, you could have been completely taken that as a negative experience, right? Well, that can happen to us so much between the ages of womb to now, and you're just storing it. And especially if you're a highly functioning human being, you're like, hey, I'm resilient. I can store this. I make harmony. I keep going. Or if you're and I want to get back to that. What do you do if you're the more expressive, but you kind of create a little more toxicity because of your overexpression of it? It's like you're still not dealing with you're getting it out of you and you're healthier, but you're really not dealing with the fact that you're sort of creating this other problem that I still feel like will come to bite you in the butt.
Absolutely.
So it's not just like I get to be toxic and that will heal. I'm healthy. And so that's the end. I'm like, I don't think that's the end of the road. I still think there's work there.
I agree.
So yeah. So it's kind of like how does, a person who's wanting to keep peace and a person who's overly expressive with negativity, because, I was super negative back when I first met you and you were like, we're not doing that. I'm like, okay. And because and my husband gave me feedback on that. Well, and just for those of you who don't know me, I'm a Scorpio. We trend towards negativity. We just do.
We love you so much.
We love the Scorps, but we have a little neg. And I shouldn't generalize, but, just having fun. But really, it's something where, everyone has to kind of work on all this stuff inside of themselves. So how do we begin? We've had so many podcasts on go into yourself and all this stuff, and still taking that first step of starting to heal that stuff is really big, and it's really easy to avoid that. So what are your thoughts?
It is. And I think maybe one of the biggest steps, maybe not the biggest step, but just even knowing that you're there. And the reason I say that is because I'm venturing to guess it. If anyone has landed on listening to us right now, there is a level of awareness and desire to improve your life, because I don't even think you'd be able to find us if that wasn't there. Yeah. So my guess is that giant step 1 has already been taken. I think beyond that, okay, there's awareness and there's willingness. Not even willingness, it's desire. It's how do I motivate myself? How do I get to a place where I want to make that change? Because I do think awareness is huge, and it's a large percentage in my opinion, because when you can become aware, you can stop yourself from certain behaviors. So you can catch yourself with certain thoughts. You can make conscious choices to sort of turn the ship, even if it doesn't feel comfortable. Then there's that motivation piece, right? What's going to motivate you to actually really change? And like we said, sometimes it is a diagnosis, or sometimes it's a relationship. Like if it's an outward expressive person, sometimes it's the end of a relationship and you're like, whoa, I didn't see that coming. Well, your behavior has been such that the other person in the relationship is like, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't, like, no, this isn't okay. And I think life always gives us opportunities to become more aware. So I think awareness is always going to be the number one thing, right? Just wake up.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. And again, I'm going to go back to this collective sort of experience that we're all having right now, at least in this country. I do think that this is an opportunity for us to wake up. Now, whether or not other people see it like that, it's their choice, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that to me is number one. Number two is now you have to really go inside yourself and ask yourself, am I willing to really make this change? What is going to motivate me, right? Like now that I know, and I will say personally, I mean, nobody's perfect, right? One of my biggest challenges is parenthood. I mean, I feel like I fail every day. Every freaking day.
You're so good with him.
I don't know. I question myself every day. It's like, I got upset about this. Did I opened my mouth too soon. I didn't walk away before all these, like my emotions got the best of me and blah, 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 all this stuff.
That's every parent though. I mean, I've seen the most patient lose their shit. You got to give yourself a break because remember, we're supposed to raise children in small villages, and they weren't like, you guys stay in that hut all day and deal with each other.
Come out when you're more mature.
It was like, it was a different setup, I think, so that parents didn't snap back in the ancient times. Or they beat their children, whatever. But the point is, you're doing great. I've seen it. You bring up a really good point, and I'll sort of stop your story for a quick second.
Yeah.
That I think is a huge thing for all the people who are spiritual seekers, watch and listen to all the Hay House authors and all the other new people that have come out, and everybody, we're all very aware of our shit at this point. It's like, oh yeah, I have this, and that was like a new thing to be even aware back in the 80s, 90s, like as you're transforming. And there's always new people getting newly aware, and that's totally awesome. But I think for I'll call it the veteran spiritual people, you can be aware AF.
Yes.
But that next step of, okay, how do I actually change this? And then the marketing out there is like, just buy our course. We'll show you. Go and Flowgetter. Just kidding. We don't have a course. But it's like, I think there are people that do help people, and there are things out there to totally help people. So on that note, it's like how I love that you are sort of stopping at, okay, before you take the course, before you spend the money, before you spend the energy, or have 85 choices to read this book, that book, do you really want to face the dragon? And it's a freaky ass, scary exorcist dragon. So do you really want that? That is a big question. And I think everyone's like, yeah, totally. But I'm like, no, really?
Yeah.
Because your behavior, and I'm speaking personally, how do I know this? Because I do this.
Wait, we all do.
Your behavior is telling me that you're not feeling willing. You want it, but you're, as Abraham says, you're ready to be ready to be ready. You're not quite ready, but you want to be ready. And that's fine. But I think you're bringing up this key point that I hope I want to just really highlight here is you have to really want to go there. Like, yes. I have to walk down in a scary cave with a lot of scary things in this cave, and no, I can't bring people with me. I can't, like, this is my journey. And that's a lot to sign up for if you really think about it. Because if you spent decades avoiding feelings and limiting beliefs and all this kind of stuff, if you've spent, and all of us have spent decades avoiding it, you really got to want to do what it's going to take, because it doesn't seem to be naturally. I mean, people naturally shift, they absolutely do, but I think for that real deep, the breakthrough work and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going on and on about it because I really want to emphasize this, is that you really got to be ready and you really got to want to. And so for those of us who are on the aware but not quite ready piece, then what?
Yes, this is exactly it. I think really sitting there, I love that you just spent that much time on it, because you're 100% right. I think it's sitting there and really, really genuinely reflecting on the alternatives, right? Because again, if we sit here and, okay, we're aware, now it's almost like that idea with, what is it? I don't know. I know there's like quotes out there around the idea of with knowledge comes responsibility. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. With great power comes great responsibility.
Thank you. With great power. Yes. I love CNN. You know, it's so awesome. And it's a superhero. Fabulous.
So good.
Yeah, this is it, right? I think that's why a lot of us choose to just stay unaware, because you know that as you become aware, now you're faced with this choice. It's almost like you're even more, and this isn't fair, or it's not, the words aren't quite right, but it's almost like you feel more foolish not making that choice to better yourself as you become more aware, right?
Yeah. And it's almost like you beat yourself up for like, oh my God, why am I letting this
like I know better
get worse?
Right. Yeah. Yes. Right. So I think that's why a lot of us just choose to ignore, which is, makes sense. It's fair, but it's not helpful. And I think really maybe the answer is really just sitting in that hyper awareness state of, okay, what are the alternatives if I don't make the choices to really go there? Could disease and illness manifest? Could this relationship end? Is this what I want? I don't think there's never a wrong choice. I really don't think so. That said, what do you want? Like genuinely, what do you want? We all want happiness. We all want satisfaction. We all want peace. We all want joy. We all want, loving relationships. Of course we want those things. And we all want them to just come to us easily, right? But here's the thing I will highlight. We did not come into this human form for that easy path. We didn't. There are other infinite timelines and existences where probably that is a path where it's just easy. That's probably, but this one here now, that's not what we came here for. It just isn't.
Clearly. Have you looked around? Just kidding.
Right. So knowing that, you may as well make the choice to just go down that hard path. You know what I mean? Because you're going to have to do it anyway at some point. And the thing is if you start doing that now, it'll probably be even easier than it would 10 years from now if you wait that long, right?
Exactly. And I'll just jump in. Is it a belief that it's hard, which is why we don't do it?
Yes. Oh my God. I love that you just said that. Genius. So genius. Oh, keep going. I love it.
Well, it's sort of like I had this pain and it really sucked, so I squished it away. So it must mean, so the belief is to get rid of it, it's going to be double painful. Like, that's the belief. And remember, what we believe is what is. So then can we look at it and say, okay, it's not maybe going to be a picnic. Let's be clear. Okay. Like cleaning emotional pain out of your energetic field and your emotional space. Like I don't really think you're like, yes, I will think about my mother's fiery plane crash and that's going to be awesome. I don't think that's, and if those of us that are new to us, Erica's mother died in a plane crash and there's other episodes that we have about that. So I don't mean any disrespect to people that have had that happen. But it's like, that is not an easy experience to process. Right. So there's a belief that it's going to be something, right? but how hard is maybe why we prevent doing it. Like, okay, this is going to be really bad. If it was that bad to begin with, it's going to be 10 times worse. Maybe that little piece we can jump on and say, you know what? If I really want to do this, maybe, okay, let's talk about pooping. So
let's talk about
some food. Yeah, how sometimes you go to the bathroom and it's like the most easy, wonderful thing. You're like, wow. And you get like actually feel good chemicals. And other times the struggle is real. Okay. We all know this, right? But it's the same thing. It's just what you ate the night before. Your lifestyle.
How well you slept. Totally.
How well you slept. All your lifestyle choices. And so how do you prepare yourself for a smooth move? Right? Emotionally. That's the big question today, Erica. Like, I want to move all this trauma out, but how can this feel like one of those great shits? So it's like, okay, how do I... Oh, there's a hummingbird outside my window. Okay.
God, I love it.
Okay.
Great timing it is.
So how do we get this to be less difficult? It's going to be difficult, but how is it going to be less difficult and feel that feeling when you're through it of like, wow, I did just lift something off instead of like, oh my God. So your point, total willingness.
My God.
Like, okay.
Yes.
Or I'm getting ready to get ready. Like, okay, I'm not ready, but I'm excited about being ready. Like before I'm even ready, I'm just excited about the feeling of being ready to change my.
Yes. That is
my
genius.
Crap.
So I remember that we talked about this in our Heal Core Wounds podcast.
Mm-hmm.
If you can really focus on, okay, why am I even doing this? Even if we haven't been there yet, I think the goal is to reshape it, restore it, reform it, redefine it in our being. And so when you know that this experience, that they're always for you, and it's and then by extension, it's for the collective, for everyone that comes into your experience, your human experience and beyond. And not just everyone, but everything, I mean, our healing helps our pets, it helps our plants. It helps our, because
it helps life itself.
It helps life itself. Exactly. Yeah. It helps heal the planet. When we heal, we are by extension helping to heal the planet. And so I think that when you know that, and when you really kind of focus there, that can help start to motivate you and get you excited about really digging into this. And I speak from experience where, I've had a trauma and I went through the intense grieving and the, all that stuff, all that painful part. And I didn't know any of this at the time. Maybe I would have approached it differently. I have no idea, but I feel like I was more conscious when I did, than I was any time previous in my life. And so you're 100% right, because it wasn't as painful a process as it probably could have been had I maybe tried to do it in a less conscious state. So you are 100% correct. I really think that when we approach it with consciousness, with intention, with love, we just shower the entire trauma with love and support, almost like treating it like we've talked about this before too, treating it like a baby, right? You are really caring for it in a way that you're helping it grow and evolve and change in the best way possible. And so when you approach it from that perspective with love, unconditional love, that trauma is as much a part of you as anything else. And at the same time, you can look at it objectively, because it's an and world. You can do both, and you can be that unconditional, conscious, loving being and approach it from the way that Source intended us to approach it, right?
Oh my God, that's so mic drop. Can you go through that even more? Like, that was amazing. Tell me more about why it's us and why the love. And like, even though I was with you on that podcast, this feels new. This feels like different territory somehow. Or I've forgotten everything because of menopause. So both and all of that's true. So like, because that was so Mike Droppy channel-y goodness. So it is a part of you and you want it to be, because I think that's the other thing is like, I don't want this to be a part of me. I don't want, it's a healer friend of mine says that basically all the trauma in the body is rejecting some experience. Like you're rejecting a life experience. So you just said it's a part of you, and my brain just went boing, 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 boing. So tell me more about that.
Well, so just a little parallel example in the physical world, right? Mm-hmm. We get we hurt ourselves somehow. We, get a paper cut, even just something as tiny as that, or whatever, something bigger. Most of us don't just ignore that and like shove it to the side and hope that it doesn't get worse. Most of us are going to address it. Mm-hmm. We're going to put a Band-Aid on the finger, or we're going to whatever, right? Or you scrape your knee. You're not just going to get up and just ignore it and hope that it goes away by itself. You're probably going to put some sort of ointment on it, or you're going to do something, right? Yeah. You're going to rest it.
You're not going to bleed out.
You're not going to bleed out. Right. You're not just going to allow yourself to bleed out. Right. Or like in sports, the athletes get hurt.
Yeah.
And do they just keep going? No, they address it. They pause, they rest, the whole rice thing. Right. Mm-hmm. That's the same thing in the non-physical world. And again, everything in this physical world, if you ever question, well, I don't know what I'm not sure what the signs are. I don't know what this means. Just look to the physical world. That's why we manifested physically, is because we have all the answers here. So look in the physical world at the parallels. What do we do in the physical world? What is it? What are we called to do in the physical world? Now, we don't always do everything, quote unquote, right? Mm-hmm. or take the easy route in the physical world. But it seems like, you get hurt in the physical world. You give attention to it. You nurture it. You heal it. That's what we do mostly, or most of us, I would assume. Yeah. That's the same exact thing, right? Because the hurt is a part of us. It's on our body.
That's what I wanted to, okay.
Right?
That's what I think was the big missing piece. So it's like, you're saying you hurt your knee, you're going to take care of your knee. Right. But you hurt your soul somehow. And then, well, that's not a part of me. That's just this thing that I want to go away.
Yes.
But it's like, we don't want your knee to go away.
Right. So. We don't want, no one of us want amputation. Right.
Right? Yeah. And unless that becomes the new plastic surgery craze, I don't know. But
hopefully not. Yes.
Oh God, humans. But it's like, so how do we draw? Okay, I have been in the spiritual game for a really long time, and I have never put this together, that the trauma that happens to your emotional self, like, it could start in your mind, it could start somewhere, mind, emotions, body, mind, we're not going to segment everything, but it happens, and something happens inside you to make it a trauma. So I've never put the parallel together that it's a part of you that you're taking care of. Like, your ego is your knee or something, which is actually funny because I think Louise Hay said that in her book. It's your knees. Okay, but I wasn't trying to say it's specific, but it's like, it's that important. Like, treat it as something that you still have to build back up. But I think because it's so nebulous and intangible, that it doesn't, you just want it out of you. Yeah. Like, I just want this anger out of me. I'm not taking care. So, but if it was an elbow or an eyeball or anything, you'd be like, I want to take care of it. Absolutely. And, okay, so that's a huge ding, ding, ding. So I want to talk about that. Okay. Something that just else came in my head is maybe that's why people don't take care of their physical bodies, is because we don't see that we're also not taking care of our inner body because it's so intangible. So the mirror is, I don't want to take care of my physical body. Oh my God. Huge 100%. Ding. Wow. Okay. So talk about those two things right now.
That is 100% true. And I will tell you, I actually lived that. And I see it all the time. I'm going to use diet as an example.
Okay.
Pre-mom healing stuff, right? I did not have the best diet. And like the idea of eating salads and vegetables and plant-based stuff was just like,
Gross.
A, I wasn't all that informed, but B, even if I think I had been, I was carrying around so much sadness that my body was actually craving the things that would keep me in that sad emotional state, which were the foods that keep me there emotionally. And I see it all the time. I mean, people turn to all sorts of chemicals, whether it's alcohol or, we turn to things that weirdly make us feel good in the moment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Momentarily. But as you start to heal, it's so fascinating how you don't even want those things anymore. Your entire, like your palate changes, your body rejects the stuff that because it's no longer needing to be kept down. It actually starts to crave
more motivated to
you feel
exercise or get out in the world or create community or anything.
Absolutely. Yeah. The motivation there to match where you are emotionally, and then the options show up too at the same time. It's just like life makes it easier. It's like your higher self is making it easier for you. Now you're ready to care for yourself. Okay, here you go. Here's an easy way to do that.
And that just happens.
Yeah. So you're right. So that you're 100% right in that perspective. It's a part of me thing. I do, and I have believed this for a long time, that because we are everything that I know we don't walk around in our day-to-day lives thinking about this consciously, but when we stop and really just kind of look around, everything that is in front of us, everything that's in our experience in any given moment is us. It just is. And the reason we've come into this life with the sensation or the feeling that everything is separate is so that we can see ourselves. That's why. So if you remember that everything is a mirror, and not just a mirror, but is you. It's even more than that, right? It's not just a mirror, but it is you. And the only reason it seems like it's outside of you is just so you can see it. That's all. So you're right. The stuff that feels intangible, that doesn't feel like it's in the physical. Well, if you just kind of sit in any emotional sensation, right? Emotions are tangible enough, I think.
Yeah.
And so if you've been carrying around any kind of emotion that it's like you're comfortably uncomfortable in it, anger, frustration, anxiety, irritation, whatever emotion that it's like that, I don't want to be there anymore.
Yeah.
That's your starting point. That's the trauma saying, I need you to give me the attention. Like I just do. That is as much you as it is. I know. Again, it's new to me, so I'm just kind of riffing.
Yeah.
As your knee.
As your knee. So it's like, if I break this down, let's say something hurts or the diagnosis of the thing is causing, let's say, a lack of energy. Like a lot of people have thyroid issues.
Yes.
Stuff. Okay. Like there's so many things, but when it comes up, however it comes up, physically or mentally, the higher self is asking the ego self, can you please love this thing and heal it? And we go, no, I'm good. Thanks. I'm going to watch Netflix because, gotta go do that. Totally. I gotta take care of this work thing. I gotta go take care of this. And then you're like, when the feeling comes up again, you're like, no, I gotta go take care of this. No, I gotta go take care of this. So we keep ignoring our higher self, asking our personality self. And then when we become aware of that, now we have the choice to kind of go, okay. And then the other thing you said is that it is you that you're trying to love. But
yes.
Ego obviously has a tough time with that. Like your higher self can love you, but your ego, because you said something, in the first mic drop moment, that it's like giving it the unconditional love. And so can we break down that process for people on, okay, I'm suddenly aware that I'm totally avoiding all my feelings. Instead of going into autopilot, I'm going to stop for a second and figure out, let's say you had space and time to go, okay, I'm going to do what Flowgetter says. This is an experiment. It's not stop, drop, and roll, although you're welcome to do that. But it's like, do I stop and I go, okay, this first thought is, This is me wanting to love me and take care of my knee or my elbow or my eyeball or whatever. Like, it's time to stop and take care of me as much as and part of the reason I maybe avoid this is because I don't know how or what, because it's so intangible. So just like taking care of a body part, what do we do next? Or what are some options to do next to make it more tangible so we stop and take care of it? And especially in the middle of a busy day, well, I don't even want to say that because, sometimes you're just going to be like, okay, I'll just move on or whatever. But let's say it's, it's journal time and you're still like, oh, I'm feeling all this stuff. It's like, what do I do? Like, you have time to deal with it. Now, how do I make this very intangible thing that I've been avoiding for decades now suddenly a process that I can get into a little more?
Yes, that's a great question.
With unconditional love, this basically.
Yep, with unconditional love. I think, I'm hoping that anyone who's listening has loved something or someone, whether it's a pet or a person or really anything, and has had the experience of feeling that unconditional love feeling. So if you've ever felt that, then you have somewhere to start, because you can go. I think meditation's a really, really good tool to use for something like this, because if you can go and you can really sit in that unconditional loving space, maybe you think about the thing that you have unconditionally loved at some point in your life, or you do, whether it's a child or like I said, a pet or a friend or a partner, whatever it is, right? If you can go there and just get to that feeling state, that's where you start. So you start with that feeling state. And when you have that feeling of unconditional love, then you can kind of transfer it to literally anything. I know that I understand that a lot of people do struggle with this self-love thing. And it's kind of hard for me to talk on it because it's not really been a thing that I feel like I've struggled with.
Yeah. I have a good intel on this one. So, like, to me, if I'm starting to feel uncomfortable, let's say, and I'm like just about to avoid, probably because I'm very mental, my first thing is, okay, I'm having a feeling. Do you want to name that feeling? What's the feeling? And then I'm like, I feel uncomfortable and anxious. Okay, but what's under that? What's going on? Like, kind of get myself to be like, well, I'm actually really sad that I've thrown my life away and wasted all this time and, or whatever, right? Even if it's not true, it's how you feel. Yeah. So don't believe everything you think is one piece to keep in mind, but just what is the thing that you're feeling? And so you're having a moment where you can actually tap into the yucky feeling, like, I'm going to have a bowel movement. Like, yep, you are. Like, when you tap into your body, like, it wants to happen. Yeah. So with the emotional thing, maybe for the people who really struggle with this, it's like, okay, this is the universe asking me to slow down and take a look and take care of my spiritual needs, so to speak. And I'm going to be like, okay, what feeling is this? Is this anger? Is it sadness? Is it just general overwhelm, which is more of like a fear situation? What is it? Kind of get a general sense of what realm it's in. You don't have to like pick the specific feeling word if you don't want to. And then maybe switch to this, like, okay, well, when you're already anxious and nervous and overwhelmed and angry or sad or whatever, it's kind of hard to be like, okay, now switch into unconditional love. You're like, duh, like, I was already whipped up. I'm obviously in my ego self. My higher self is like, but it's kind of whispering. How do we make that jump?
Yeah,
because you're in already whipped up freak show mode. And
then, I think what's happening is truly, I really honestly think what's happening is it's calling you to really go and heal the original wound, is what I think is happening. Yeah. In a loving, safe environment. So the role of kind of the quote unquote higher self, the role of your allness is to provide that safe, loving space for you. So when you know that, when you know you're always safe, when you really genuinely believe that, you don't even have to try to conjure up that, separate unconditional love, because you just know that you're in a safe space. So if you know
that's
that
a big thing already. None of us, I don't know that. So I'm like, yes, tell us how that works. Because I think these are really natural for you, which I think is great for listeners to really grok that. Like, oh, that's really natural for Erica because she's designed differently. So that's great. But for people that's not, I want to sort of, again, stop and go, okay, so then the next step is go, oh, you say that again, your all is trying to create a safe space for you to do this right now, which is why it's coming up.
Yes. It's basically saying it's okay now for you to go there because I'm here. And I think that's why I honestly think, this kind of speaks to this whole where religion was born, right? It's easier as humans because we feel separate. We have homes that make us feel safe. We align ourselves with people that make us feel safe. We get jobs where we feel safe. We, whatever it is, if you can remember that and remember, okay, I'm in this human form and I've spent a lot of time not feeling safe or experiencing fear, and then it manifests into this, or, I have this feeling and that feeling and whatever, and I'm freaking out right now. But I just have to remember a time where I felt safe. Let's use the example of a severe trauma like sexual violence. Let's just use that. That is possibly the least safe place that a person can feel.
Right.
Right. I'm sure there's other examples, but let's just use that.
That's a great example.
Yes. So if we think of someone who's trying to heal themselves from that space and they're like, wait, you're trying to tell me that I need to surround myself with this feeling of safety. And yet you also want me to go to that place of where I felt the least safe ever in my entire life. Yeah. That those two things feel and seem very contradictory. I don't get it. Right.
Yeah. And they've been, maybe if it happened when they were pretty young, they've never felt safe. They weren't protected by their parents. Then this horrible thing happened. Like, safety is not a word that goes in their brain.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. So I think step one, again, is always awareness, right? Always awareness. So if at least your mental brain is on board with the idea that it's possible to feel safe, if you've at least gotten there and you're aware of the concept of safety, even if it's not a natural feeling for you, at least you know that it exists. You can start there. You can really start there if that's where you need to just sit for as long as you need to. Because I think once you start to get comfortable with the idea that you can feel safe and you kind of, revisit that, then you can start to sort of, okay, yes, I've had most of my day is filled with triggers, but I'm going to spend a minute here sitting in the corner of my room, wrapped in my blanket, with my pillow, and just feel safe. That's what I'm going to do right now. Your body is starting to recognize what that feels like. That's what you need. It's like getting used to anything. It's like getting used to exercise or a new food or a new person, or, you're just starting to get familiar with that thing. So if that's where you need to start, that's where you need to start. Once you start to really become more and more and more familiar with that, then you can take the next step, which would be, okay, I can at least acknowledge the fact that I was, abused in this horrible, disgusting, awful way. I can at least for a second, like, consciously just know that's, it's sort of like you're really, truly baby stepping. It's, again, I'm going to go back to the metaphor of the baby. Your baby's not going to come out and you're not going to all of a sudden start feeding it pizza. You're not. That's not how this works.
Yeah.
You're going to feed it a little bit. It's going to sleep most of the time in the beginning. And little by little, day by day, week by week, month by month, you're going to see the progression. They're going to grow. That's how it is with when you're really, truly trying to heal. I really think that the conscious awareness and the conscious baby stepping, you're going to feel better. And that is what you're after. That is what you're after.
Even if it's a 0.5% every week, which isn't much, but over time, it'll get there. The other thing I wanted to grasp onto is when you were talking about the allness, the universe, God, whatever, kind of saying like, I love you, you're safe. I got like verklempt. I'm like, I like, it's a thing. So can we bring the spiritual, like the real loving presence kind of back into the conversation, and like how that can be more of the experience.
Absolutely. I get so excited about this because I will say, even myself, right? Someone who's, not necessarily struggled with self-love stuff, but, definitely, went from a place of feeling kind of very alone, to now I'm like, I am so clear that I am never alone. I am never alone. I think loneliness is a real problem.
It is.
In this society, in this world. And it's because we don't even realize how truly connected and how loved we are in every single instant. We have blocked ourselves consciously, even though you really can't block yourself because this whole existence is built on unconditional love. But I think I really think the way I got there is I thought about it. I talked about it. I wrote about it. I just kind of surrounded myself with the idea. It's sort of like, I guess, a version of brainwashing, and it worked. It's like the more I sort of got comfortable with the whole notion that everything that I am, like, unconditional love is where it starts and ends for me and for all of us.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So awesome. Okay. So it's like you took the life creation, life, universe, spirit, whatever source energy, and you formed an awareness, a belief and an awareness, and then experience followed soon after. You could feel, because I remember you talking about your meditations, you feel, Eckhart calls it presence, like you feel the connection and therefore feel the unconditional love, therefore feel the safety, etc.
Oh my God. Yes, you actually just reminded me. I remember I was meditating one time a few years ago, and I literally felt a physical hug from behind me. I felt the warm, loving arms wrapped around, I'm getting goosebumps, wrapped around me because there's nothing better than just like a bear hug from behind. It feels so
very
incredible.
Comforting.
It's very comforting. And I felt that as I was meditating. It's so magic when you really open your mind up to this idea. And like you said, you said this in one of the recent podcasts where you said, just even if if that idea feels so far away, even if you want to believe, even if you have the desire to believe that is a possibility, that's a great starting point. Because
I think that's where most people are. They're not where you are. They're in, I wish that was what I felt.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's great. And give yourself credit for even being open to the idea, because that's huge. You know, even like I said, awareness is a large percentage of it, because once you're aware, then you kind of think about it more and you start to see signs of it in your life. You really do. Even if it's just a blip, and then you get excited, and then momentum starts to build around that. And it's like a snowball effect. And it is absolutely phenomenal how, I'll tell you what, the depth of my relationships, the quality of my relationships, the kinds of my relationships kinds that I have now, the people in my life, oh my God, like it's incredible. When I look at how, I used to be in relationships and the people I used to manifest, I don't want to say that, that's not fair, but the kinds of energy that I was putting out and then I was receiving, so different than what it looks like today. And it took time, but it just really going back to that idea more and more and more. And it showed itself to me more and more and more. And then, like, we're humans, seeing is believing. As you start to see it, it becomes no doubt, and it doesn't have to take forever. It doesn't.
And believing is seeing. So if you believe it's possible for even if it's impossible for you, I've always meditated, I never felt that. Well, today is a new day. And maybe you're ready to allow that in, because we're the gatekeeper of our experience. So maybe being that loved, it's not part of your ego's program. It's like, sorry, we're used to only this level. Can't really handle you being loved unconditionally by the universe today. So you'll block that. And that's like a whole thing about how we resist receiving. Like everything is there for you 100%, but you're blocking it. And
Yes.
I want to do about 600 podcasts to really keep talking about that, because that is my experience. Like I know that some part of me is blocking the connection, because like when you were talking about it, I felt it and I was just like, oh, like I got verklempt. I could feel it. I'm like, so I know that's in my future.
Yes.
You know, even though I'm going to meditate every day and probably, you know, it's possible that I could not feel that and be like, oh, I don't feel it. Yeah. Well, that's just another way to beat yourself up to keep yourself where you're at. Right.
Absolutely.
So the whole point is to just be excited that that's a possibility and be like, oh, yay, that's going to happen for me someday. And it could be as early as tonight. It could be as early as next year. It doesn't matter, but it will happen because that's who you are.
It is who you are.
It is what you are. You're just playing the ego game of your personality and resisting everything, and then slowly letting go of corks and layers and rocks and all the stuff. And it's all, you know, floating away. And then the more love flows to you. But I think you've touched on the biggest point ever, is that you're not going to heal anything unless you get aligned with the universe and the unconditional love and safety for that space. And then do what we said in Healing Court Wounds, which is go there, you know, but you have to go there with this buddy, which is the universe, universe. You have, you know, that's God, source, all creation. That's with you. And it's like, I'm going to do this. Here we go. The reason it's hard is you try and do it without that with you.
Yes. You're approaching it from the space that you've always been in. And that's not going to work because that's where you've been. You're trying to actually move away from that. Right. And so, yeah, that's 100% true.
Like you're trying to do something without source on your side. You're like, I can do it by myself. I don't need you to make me feel safe or loved. I can clean out this crap. Well, how's that going? It's not, because you're not taking source with you.
Right. Because you're forgetting that you are source. I think that's the thing. Yeah. It's like we're separate. We feel so separate and we're blocking all that is. We're blocking we're genuinely blocking ourselves. You know, that's the thing. It's like allow your true self to really show up. You're asking yourself to show the fuck up is what you're doing. I mean, that's really what's happening, right?
Yeah.
It's like
there. You just,
it's there.
It's like, you're like, I can't really see, it's there somewhere. I'm like, well, start doing, you know, start taking the veil off your eyeballs and see it.
Yes.
And believe it. And okay, tell us some of the thoughts that go through your mind. Cause I think your thoughts are different than people that really struggle, let's say, with this.
Yeah.
So your thoughts are like, what are some things that go through your mind?
Yeah.
You know, just to give us some new ways to think, essentially.
Okay. Yeah.
Let us go inside your mind for a minute, Erica.
Love it. Love it. Yeah. So, okay. So one thing I want to point out is, I really think anything, big or small, however you want to view it, anything that produces any sort of pain is the greatest gift. That's like the first thing I think of is, and honestly, like, again, going back to this election, yeah, you know, I was like in shock. And I think that's what happens when we experience any form of trauma. We're in shock for a little bit. But then I will say, I think because I have healed certain, you know, traumas, not all of them, but certain ones, because of that, I can get to my brain goes more quickly to the positive, to what can I gain from this? My brain just goes there pretty
instead
quick.
Instead of avoid, which is what most of us do, right?
Avoid or just sit, run or just sit in the negativity. Like you just sort of, you're choosing to sit there and focus on the crap. And that's where you get stuck.
Yeah.
It doesn't come naturally. You're a stuck person.
I just will just be like, it's the end, doom, you know, not so much with the election, societal
personal stuff.
If I thought about it, I would, which is why I don't think about it, but personal stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, it's that negativity. I'll just get stuck there. And then I'm like, but I have this natural positivity, because I asked someone who knew me back when I was 26 that I'm still friends with. And they were like, oh no, because I was talking about how I'm like naturally bubbles from the
Yes,
Powerpuff
you are.
Girls. I'm like,
Yes.
but
It's true.
actually, that's not how I've been for like 15 years or something, you know? And so my point is I will stay stuck with that negativity. You've healed enough things that you'll see the value of it.
Yes.
So you said the first thing is when you're in pain,
When
this
you're in
is a
pain,
great opportunity.
yes, always see it from
So
an
you're not
opportunity.
like, yeah, a positive, like, oh, good, healing gets to happen, instead of, oh,
Yes.
fuck, I hate life. Why the fuck is this happening?
Exactly.
F-bombs galore, anger,
Yes.
fear, overwhelm, which is my go-to. Yeah. Okay. So I represent most of us, and then
but the caveat is, I will say the caveat is, because there is a fine line between avoiding, like if you're really trying to force yourself to just think positive, then you're really not engaging in that experience. Because the goal is to really find the learnings, find the whatever that experience is there. It's meant for you to grow and change and evolve and be better and do better.
and
That's
heal.
what it's meant for, and heal. Yeah. And heal. Yeah. And the healing is you get to take away this gift, which is now you're more aware, you're more enlightened, you're more evolved, you're further along.
Yeah.
Like that's what that's for. That's the whole point of it. When you've genuinely healed, then you are able to look back and say, wow, I got this, 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 and this from it, or whatever. I think when you know that, when you really do believe that, it is a lot easier to go there. And that's not to say that if you do feel angry, if you do feel sad, if you do feel like a victim, then maybe you need to sit there for a minute, or a bit. But I think what most of us do is we get stuck there.
Yeah. And we forget the rest.
There, and we forget the whole point. And then history repeats itself because it's like, oh, you didn't get what you're supposed to get out of that. Here you go. And then and then it gives us more reason to like stay stuck in that space, right? But that's not the goal. That's not the point. And I do think that this is maybe something that I've came into this life believing, because I feel like stuckness has never been my thing. It's
you're also
not.
a Sagittarian, which
that's
you
why
have that optimism.
Yes, I think,
which is so helpful for those of us with pessimism. And because we need that, I could, just because I came in with pessimism doesn't mean optimism can't be my future.
Yes.
Right? Just because you've been that way doesn't mean you can't be that way. So I feel like one of the gifts that you're giving us is this sort of standard of where we want to hit, or goal, not goal, because that's goaling isn't, but a place of being that we can say, hey, that's my future. It's everyone's future. Everyone's future is pure positive energy.
Yes.
So you're just getting more of that in a human form to kind of give us that, hey, this is where we're all heading. Isn't this great? You could be there by Thursday. Like,
totally.
You could release some trauma and have that optimism back. You could have the feeling of, as Abraham will always say, like, nothing's more annoying than really happy, fluffy people. Because what it does is it make you get triggered the belief of, like, well, I can't have that. But the reason that you have that experience of being annoyed or jealous or overwhelmed or whatever is because you don't believe that that's who you are, but that is who you are.
Yes. I was there. Yeah. I was totally there. I remember, there have been plenty of people in, my past where it's like, it's just too much. Like your level of bubbly and happiness is like, not your, but like what, there have been people in my past where I'm like that. No, and I can't.
Yeah.
And so I get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. So okay. So then you're saying, okay, so we were doing your thoughts back to what were your thoughts? So your first thought is, okay, I'm in pain. There is an opportunity. I know what's on the other side of this. So I'm actually looking forward to working this out.
Yes.
Is one thought that everyone can say, okay, write that down in your journals, practice that new thought, because it's probably not very familiar. Okay. What are other thoughts that go through your head during receiving the universe to help you and healing and all that?
I think again, what we kind of talked about before too is really truly believing that at the core of everything is unconditional love. Not even the core, like it's every level. Because I believe that so truly, whenever I see suffering, I know that that is just an unhealed trauma. I'm human, if like someone cuts me off, my instant, it's or like on the street, it's like, screw you. And, but if I can remain conscious and aware, whenever I experience pain, I know that it's a mirror. So, okay, where do I need to clean stuff up? That's like, that really is a very quick thought that I have. That's always about me. And it's a call for me to, okay, I have more healing to do always. And it's cool and it's fine. And I'm going to, I'm not perfect. I mean, I definitely, again, I've only healed some traumas, not all.
But you don't go into overwhelm. Like, oh my God, I've got so much work to do, or negative. You don't use it to make yourself less than, which is a big difference. So you just kind of go, okay, mirror, noted, going to work on that.
Yeah. Another thing I've noticed, sorry to interrupt you. Another thing I have noticed is when people either put themselves down or the reverse, where they talk themselves up, it is an immediate indication to me that there is that unawareness of the unconditional love. Because that is never a thought I have. Like, I don't have a thought, I'm awesome. And even when people say, you're amazing, you're awesome, I'm like, I know, like, you don't have to tell me that. Yeah, which it's nice. It's nice to hear. And I know this might sound a little off-putting to people, but the truth is, when you genuinely have internalized a belief to the core of your being, it doesn't become a thought anymore. It doesn't.
Whoa.
Like, I never have this, I'm stupid, or I'm suck, or I'm amazing and I'm beautiful. Those are not thoughts I have, like, because I just believe so deeply to the core of who I am that I am absolutely perfect the way that I am. I don't need to convince myself of anything.
Oh
right?
My God.
So these are,
I'm just thinking about awesomeness. Yeah.
And I think and the reason I share that, and it might sound a little off-putting to people again, but it's something to understand. When you catch yourself beating yourself up, when you catch yourself gloating, that's an indication that, okay, I'm clearly trying to convince myself of something that I don't believe.
Yeah.
Anything that you have genuinely embodied, anything that you've genuinely embodied no longer becomes a conscious thought. It just doesn't.
Oh my God. I have never heard this. And I've spiritualed a lot. Okay. I'm going to restate this for the audience. Okay. So, I mean, you just said it, but it's like, it becomes, and I don't feel like it's off-putting because you've explained it so well. It's when you've become in alignment with the true nature of who you are, you don't have the need to put yourself down. You're out of your ego, basically. Your ego either tries to put you up or put you down. It just picks a direction. There's a lot of personalities out there that put themselves up and I'm the best, I'm the most amazing, no one's better than me. And then there's other personalities that put themselves down and
or they both, they vacillate, right?
And they vacillate. Yeah, exactly. And what you're saying is basically they're in the ego and they're not aligned with their true nature, which is source energy. And the way you are is what source's opinion is about everything.
Yeah.
Like, even the turd people, like, you're still perfect the way you are. And Lisa, you're the perfect the way you are. And Erica, like, everything is perfect the way it is because I'm creation and I'm creating this and I'm growing as if I'm speaking as source, like I am. If I am, there's no plus or minus. There's not good or bad. It is perfect the way it is. And you've aligned with that because that's how, I think that's part of your human design also, that red triangle thing. But what's awesome about that is you can be, again, that example model thing for those of us who need to see, oh, that's how that works in human form. It's not, you're not a guru. You're not living, meditating in a cave for 100 years. It's like, oh, you've just aligned with the I am. You've aligned with, I am perfect the way I am. And it's not ego. It's actual alignment with source energy. And you may be horrible at everything else in your life, but you're not bad with that. And that's a huge thing for us, I think, to model after. It's like, well, I'm really good at this and good at this, but am I aligned with source energy? And do I have that? Everything's fine the way it is. I'm not plus or minus. like, to me, this is like, oh, this is my next spiritual evolution. It's not a goal. It's just becoming back into alignment. That's what that looks like in human form. And I think if we need anything, is we need examples of that, because there's so much ego. I know there's a lot of great people out there who are teaching really good spiritual things, but I still feel the ego in it. I still feel the self-promotion.
Yes.
I don't feel the act. And they're great teachers. They're great at explaining concepts, but I don't feel the alignment. And I guess what makes you so fabulous, you're like, yes, but I'm perfect the way I am. It's like it's like what makes this moment fabulous for me, and why I think this is an excellent, the best podcast we've ever done, is we're touching on, this isn't about, okay, now everyone be Erica or be like, no, you all have access to the same Zen-like feeling about yourself, where it's not plus or minus, it's oneness. Like, I am that. And that's what we're trying to get across here on this podcast. It's called Flowgetter for this exact thing. I'm freaking out right now. Okay.
I love this. Well, think about, I always think about the people you most respect, whether it's in stories, whether it's on, TV, whether it's in real life, whether you've met them or not. And usually when I think of the people that I really genuinely look up to, it's the Jesus figures, the Eckhart Tolles, the people who seem to exude this real, no judgment kind of thing. Cause now we're talking about judgment, right? Cause really it's a judgment when, oh, I suck or I'm amazing. Those are both judgments. Right. I'm judging myself. I'm judging the outside world, whatever it is. When you get to a point where you're observing in the most loving, unconditional way, that's when you've arrived, And it's not this linear thing. We all can have moments of that in every day. It doesn't have to be, I'm waiting for this to happen. And I know I'm sure, I would venture to guess we've all experienced this in at least one time in our life, where we're just being, we're just observing, we're not having an opinion about something. We're just there and taking in the, whatever it is that's in your moment. Yes. We're just taking it in and observing and not having these judgments about it.
Yeah. Cause you'd be like basically when we say judgment, even if it's positive, you're taking yourself out of the moment to label it. This is amazing. This isn't amazing. It's like, whatever. And you're out of that moment, and then you're not aligned.
Yes. And I love that you just said, labeling, because I think that if we want to look at, the trajectory, I always think of the LGBTQ community, because what's amazing is we're labeling things, but we're starting to open up the options. Like we're having a hard time figuring out what to call people who don't want to identify as man or woman, right? Mm-hmm. Like we've decided they, and I kind of love the idea that it's a hard label for people to wrap their minds around, because it means that maybe we don't need to label. I know we have the human language is new and we're figuring it out, and it's not perfect. And we're, it's just something that we fumble over a lot, and we're going to for a long time, because it's a way of communicating that is not perfected. Energetic communication is perfect. That's the communication. If you're ever confused about verbal communication, go to the energy. Actually, we should always go to the energy first anyway, but the words just sort of hopefully match what's going on, but they don't always. But the point is, if someone comes into my experience that I'm trying in my head because I've been conditioned to label them as a he or she, and I can't really tell. I love that, because it's like, I don't have to label you as anything, but even human. I've even gotten to the point where even humanity, we're getting ready to invite in our physical realms, interdimensional energy, species, non-human sort of life forms, right? But I really do believe that a large part of why it hasn't happened in most of our experiences yet is because we can't even seem to get past the he or she or they. Do you know what I mean? Like, seriously, it's like, how about we let that shit go, And we haven't even gotten to human being. Do you know what I mean? Even this, again, going back to this election, I really think a large reason why we didn't elect a woman is because she's a woman. Sadly.
We're not ready. I mean,
right.
we've gotten better. We're having, you know,
yeah, we do have women in leadership.
In all of history leading, you know, in this country, yes. You know, like Iceland's like infinity ahead of us.
What the hell's wrong with you? Totally. New Zealand. I know. Totally. I mean, so many countries. Germany. Yeah, exactly.
And so it just highlights. But what I love about that is when I have a friend who's a healer. She said, we just reject that femininity in ourselves so much. And breast cancer is huge.
That's why.
And it's like we're rejecting this in ourselves. So why is everyone shocked? I mean, you're shocked, but it's like, come on, you do this to yourself every day.
Absolutely.
You reject your own femininity every day. And what does femininity mean? It doesn't mean pink and dresses. It means the side of you that isn't aggressive and the side of you that's a human being, not a doing. Okay.
An emotional
you reject your beingness. We're all human doings. We all know this. So every day you're rejecting femininity. And then you wonder why we don't have a woman president. I mean, let's get real.
Let's get real. 100%.
Let's get real. Like if you looked at, in terms of Chinese medicine, what yin represents, you reject that. Everybody wants the yang, or the yang. Yes. Right? Everybody. Yes. I just said that.
I love it.
Oh my God. Kraken Mastelpa. But
so awesome.
I am also, we did say on our website, flowgetter.com, that we are like Beavis at Car Talk and Beavis and Butthead all rolled into one. So just as a warning, you were warned. Okay. But like, how are we even getting to the point where we can have feminine leadership when we reject it constantly? If you look at that list, it's darkness, it's beingness, it's non-doing, it's receptive. Most people can't even take a compliment. You look at me and say, no, I don't look at me. You're a God source. No, I'm not. I'm less than. I mean, so you're still wondering why women aren't in charge, at least in this country, is because we just cannot. We reject all of those energetic principles. Okay. Absolutely. You don't have to wear pink. Okay.
Yes.
Like every person, every person is rejecting the yin principles because they're not the DNA of this country. Other countries can vibe with that, right?
Yes.
So what you're doing is you're essentially rejecting the allness, because the allness is both things. Like you're rejecting 50% of that. And I'm a human doing so much. I'm like, give me the steps. What are the? I'm like, okay, Erica, what are the next thoughts that you have? And then I would write down those thoughts and I would try and practice them. Okay, that's very good to use that mental doing side, because I think you have to kind of anchor structure for change too. But then there is a part of us that's, okay, now just be a being and just be aligned with the beingness of the universe. Well, that's way intangible and that's way difficult. And I fight that constantly. I mean, I meditate, but you give me the rest of the day and I'm like, human doing. So I'm imbalanced. I have imbalance because of that.
God, everything you said is perfect. Well, think about, we have to actually plan out to go on vacation. Do you know what I mean? Like we have to actually plan ahead to go and be. Do you see what I'm saying? Like do all year.
Be.
And right, and usually you're not being, you're still doing. You're still like, no, we'll sign up for this tour and that tour and whatever. You know, it's like the closest thing is maybe, I don't know, a beach vacation or a whatever, maybe a retreat or something like that. You know, even our work culture, right? It's just do. And then you get this much time out of the year to go and be if you want. But most of us, you're right. Most of us don't do that. We just go and do more. Or we take days off to like clean the house or, do more. Yeah. European cultures have it they're much closer. It's like, oh yes, you need a month of vacation or whatever, 2 months of vacation a year. Here you go. Or you need, however, 6 months of maternity leave. Here you go. Or a year. Yeah. Here you go. Yeah. Right?
Yeah. And you can start your job when you get back.
Yes. And we'll hold it for you.
How many women do I know have gotten fired after they come back from their mat leave? It's insane.
Oh my God.
Because of mat leave.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. You're right.
Not to get down on America, because what we have is a lot of male energy. Well, I mean, but the point is we celebrate our innovation. We rock and roll and the doingness and the innovation and the pushing stuff forward, which is why,
capital society.
we get to talk on this really cool podcast thing because of that energy. It's the do energy. Great. But there's been a cost, which is the non-doing and the being and all the stuff. Yes?
Sorry, one of our future podcasts has to be on balance. I'm just saying that out loud because you just reminded me of that.
Oh, yeah.
Balance.
I will also be the poster child for what not to do. And
oh my God, I know. I'm not good at that.
Yeah, this will be really good. Yeah, and so in sort of kind of tying all this back to healing, because again, I feel like we could go on for hours.
Oh my God,
so tying back to healing is we're not accepting the allness. And so the new thoughts that we can have, when you're saying about yay, there's some pain, not yay, or there's pain. I'm looking forward to the healing of this. Okay. And then, the second one was, I've already forgotten. Sorry, people.
I'll edit this. I'll edit this the right way.
It's okay. It's all good. They're probably like, I remember. And so when we're getting back to all that, it's like there's these thoughts and steps of like, am I rejecting experience?
Yes.
Because, because we'll have a whole other podcast on balance and all that kind of stuff. But ultimately, you're just rejecting stuff, and healing. You want to kind of get in that moment of like, I get to have this connection to something that's very balanced. It's the allness, and kind of, I guess the main thing that we were grooving on was your connection to source energy is strong. And those of us listening to Flowgetter want the conscious connection, because that's what we're connected. You're not unconnected. Your perception what says your perception says you're not connected. So kind of to sort of summarize everything, all healing depends on this perception of connectedness.
Yes.
Because if you're unconditionally loved and in a safe space, your poop is going to be better. Your spiritual poop is going to be a smooth move, right?
Oh my God, I love it.
That's the whole key right there.
Yes.
So then what we want to highlight is how that's all we have to do is re-perceive our connection to what we already are.
Yes.
We don't have to go anywhere. You just have to take off the no, it isn't. No, I don't have it. No, it's not there. And you're helping model a different state for many of us, myself included. So to me, that's like the total headline is what do I do if I say, okay, I'm now excited about this possibility that I can align with my conscious, all that I am. I get it conceptually. It's in all the books. It's all the religion, Jesus, everybody. Okay. Kingdom of heaven's within you. Okay. Yes. Everyone says it. We get the concept, but few of us actually have the experience. So what will help us? Okay. We know meditation, but I feel like there's a mindset that we have to say, I am excited about the possibility that I can re-perceive this, that I can let go the limitations in my mind that are blocking this connection for me, because this connection is how I heal, because I need the support of all that I am to process this trauma and get it to a healed state and let that energy go back to the universe.
Beautiful. Scene. Yeah, that's exactly it. It's exactly it. Because a large reason why we don't even want to go there is because again, that safety thing, we feel like we lack the support. I remember when my mom died, it was fine for the first 2 weeks. It was fine. There were people all over the place in the house, It was the minute that everybody left, then you really felt the emptiness. Mm-hmm. So I think that's why it's scary, because you don't feel like you have that support. But you're right. When you feel that connection, when you at least on a cerebral level, if you know that that's available for you, that makes you feel a tiny bit safer.
Yeah. And sure. The safety is almost like the cradle with which you can deliver the love and the healing to take care of the knee, to take care of the baby, so that it can process and have its poop and you can throw it up, right? Totally. So that's what we're trying to do here. And I'm trying to make all these metaphors so it can stay with you, because I think there's so much blah, 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 and healing and source and okay. But I really think that now that we've talked about this, like, yes, take care of your physical body, eat right, sleep, but the thing that is going to heal every part of your soul and your body is going to be your perception of how source, the love and the safety that can create that space, and it's just going to move through you.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if anyone ever does castor oil packs. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll do a podcast later on that. But essentially, it kind of lubricates the liver and the something you put on your skin. And man, that next day poo,
amazing.
You know, you see is the phrase "shit through a goose." You know what I mean? Like, it's like, woo, awesome. And again, you get that high, and so it's like, okay, I may not have any idea what these two crazy women are talking about, but I love this idea that it's possible. Like, maybe that's where you are. Or maybe you're where I'm at, like, you know what? Okay, Erica is I'm lucky that I know her, I've heard this podcast, just like I have things that people maybe are like, oh, I could try and do a little more Lisa-ness in my life, right? So for this, it's like, oh, I can do that. I can take off the perception. I'm going to work on the perception that I'm separate from source, that I can't connect with it. I don't know how to feel it. Because if I can't even get there, I'm not going to heal all this trauma. I have so much emotional shit. Clearly, I have health issues and blah, blah, blah. It's clearly there. And affirmations, reprogramming the subconscious mind. Of course, you want to do all that stuff. But if you don't have your wingman, wingwoman, wing they, which is source.
Totally.
We're going to call it a wing they, and no one will know what the fuck we're talking about. Like, if you have this with you, that is the only path that will make the healing happen, because why else would source want you to wake up or hire you? It's like, you need to see this relationship first. Like, this is how you get it done. This is how you move the mountain. It's biblical. Mountain, get over here, and it comes, or whatever. It's healing is that. It's, who cares about manifesting money or men or this or health or any of it? It's like, you need to manifest your connection. Like, this is the only thing. Yeah.
That's it. And I think that, again, going back to the idea of organized religion, all of it is built on this idea that there's this great and powerful Oz behind the curtain, and when you feel more connected to quote unquote God, quote unquote Allah, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it, source, or, when you feel that, you feel like you can do anything. What we're saying is feel that connection to yourself, to you, to the best, greatest version of yourself.
Exactly.
The only true version of yourself, truly.
Exactly. And the way there is work on it mentally, work on it emotionally, work on it, get ready to be ready. That should be that's your only focus. You don't have to worry about your supplements. You don't have to worry about anything. This is the only thing you have to figure out, because it is you. It's the energy that creates world, as they say. Like, well, wouldn't this make sense for healing? I guess so. So basically, in summation, connection with source is the path to healing. The end. Okay.
And by source, if yourself, universe, right? Yourself.
The allness that creates all life, whatever, however you want to phrase that. Yeah. Whatever that is for you. And I think that our Flowgetter audience really gets that. I really want to hear from you guys. I feel like we hit pay dirt here on I think this is one of the best podcasts we've ever had. So I hope our audience feels the same way. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much for being with us. This was massive. Erica, any last words or final thoughts?
I do. No. Yes.
No, I said it all.
I know. I know that if I start talking, I'll stop. So we're good.
If you have more, I'm happy to listen. But if
I'm good.
Okay,
yeah,
I think
I'm good.
We are
good stopping point.
Good stopping point. Thank you all so much for being here. We look forward to all of the different ways: meditation, journaling, focus, celebration, talk with friends, get in community, find ways to connect with the allness of creation, however you want to do that. And we want to hear from you. We want to hear how you're healing, how it's changing. It's totally awesome. And we'll be talking about it more, because we're going to do the same things, right? More of that equals more shift, and it's awesome. So thank you all for being here with us today. Connect with us, sign up for our email on flowgetter.com, Flowgetter. erica.com. And we are so looking forward to seeing you next time. Erica, thank you so much for your amazing mic dropping awesomeness. And we'll see you next time.
Thank you for your awesomeness.
All right.
Bye, guys.
Bye, everybody.